Good morning, cadets. I am Cadet Falasco, and today I'll be talking to you about communication. Excellent. All right, in my brief today, I'll cover the importance of communication, some different methodology that we use in communication. I'll cite some examples, and I will synergize my solution with my brief. Next slide. All right, a wise man named Anthony Robbins once said, "The way we communicate with ourselves and others ultimately determines our way of life." Now, if you think about it, that seems like a pretty big statement for something as small as communication, right? But really, it makes a lot of sense. If you have superior communication skills with those around you, you're more than likely to get what you want out of life. Everything that requests from maybe a boss, if you want a promotion, a raise, you get those by communicating with your boss. You have to convince that person of your message and basically get them on your side why you deserve that. So communication will determine your quality of life. If you fail on the other side of communication, you're more than likely to be pigeonholed. There's no reason to advance you, no reason to give you those supplies, or whatever it may be that you're trying to request. If you fail at communicating, you have to be able to convince your audience, you have to be able to deliver that message, send it home. And that's one of our reasons we fail in communication in the cadet wing. And it's not so much how we communicate in the cadet wing, it's how we communicate in the cadet wing is what we fail at. I know that it doesn't make sense, but it will at the end of my brief. Next slide. So these are different methods of communication we use in our ROTC. Because of the uniqueness of our organization, we're not an active duty unit. We don't work with each other 5 days out of the week, 8 hours, maybe 12 hours a day. We're a group of college kids that meet only once a week together as a group. And that is our only chance to communicate person to person. So by definition, email becomes a primary use of communication that we all use. It's the fastest and most efficient way to disseminate information throughout the entire cadet wing. Lead Lab, this is our chance for our formal presentation. This is your opportunity to sell your event. PT, it's a great resource to reinforce your message. Never use PT as a starting point for your message. Next slide. So my first example, communication via email. What do you guys think? Is this a good example or a bad example?
Bad.
Way bad. It's not informing anybody, it's telling a story. This is if anyone remembers, this is the email I wrote for Project Apple last year. And this is how I started the project with this story. I made the mistake of trying to convince the cadet wing and informing them on the same means of communication. I bet nobody read this entire thing. When I was writing, I thought this was the best email I ever wrote. It'd tell a good story. It was going to rally the troops. But I failed at one aspect. I failed to think of my audience. That this message went to a bunch of college kids that get emails from all different kinds of sources every day. From their boss, ROTC, work, school, email, whatever. That is where I failed at. Cadets, and this is something you all have to remember, that when you're emailing, email is not the form to convince somebody, to persuade anybody. Email is only form, you can only use it to inform people. Because you all know when you look through emails, you look for what are they trying to tell me. You just want to know the 5 blocks, who, what, when, where, and why. You don't want to you're not going to sit there and take the time to read this like, oh, okay, maybe now I want to do it. Because I never read word for word any email I get, unless it's something from my boss, of course. But if it's like a volunteer event, I'm not going to sit there and like, oh, ooh, this is good. Yeah, let's do this. I don't have time to do that. Nobody has time to do that. Email is purposely to inform, not to persuade. And that's where I made a failure, and none of you should be writing emails like this anymore. All right, next slide. How about this? Good email, bad email?
It's a shepherd email.
Okay, shepherd email. In my opinion, this is the absolutely perfect email, and this is how all of our emails should be structured from now on. I mean, right off the bat, what is the first thing you see when you go into your inbox? It's kind of a rhetorical question, but it's your subject, right? That's the first thing you're going to see. And look what you wrote as a subject. ROTC, so boom, right off the bat, you know exactly where it's coming from. Martin Luther King Day bike build, Monday, 19 January. You don't even have to open this email to realize what it's for. But as soon as you do open it, you just have a few sentences, very brief about what it is, and your 5 basic blocks. So who, what, when, where, and why. And he included a how. Being the superstar that he is. He told how you to sign up for this event. This is how all emails are restructured. This is perfect format because it informs the cadets. That's what they want to know. You open this email, you get that information, and that's it. You don't need to waste time trying to convince them about it, because that is all fluff. They're not going to pay attention. I guarantee they're not going to remember it throughout all the emails you get. The thing I like to stress most, though, is that subject line. That is the secret ingredient to a successful email. This is the first thing they see. It's the last thing they see. They're going to get this email, look at it, great. Weeks go on, they're going to get tons of emails from, like I said, all different kind of sources. They're going to forget about this. But when they're going through their inbox, they're going to see that subject line. ROTC bike build, the date. Easiest way to inform them. You got to make this as easy as possible for the cadets if you really want your volunteer event, whatever it's going to be successful. And this is the primary reason why our volunteer events lately, most of them, especially MWRs, have been real failures. No one shows up to these things because they're all sent out through emails, and they're all, the MWR officer is trying to persuade you through email, which is not how it's done. That's not how you're going to get a message across. You have to use email as an informative tool only. Next slide. Lead Lab is your chance at a formal presentation of whatever event you have. This is your time to sit up on stage with your slides and your pictures and sell it to the cadets. You start with your initial email, like Cadet Shepard's, giving out the 5 basic information so they know the event's happening, they know the basic information, and then you go up here and reinforce your message by selling to them. You convince them why they should go along with your idea. You have your, and it's an excellent opportunity because you're hitting all the cadets, all of them at once. When you're up on stage, we all know this, you know, be brief, cut distractions. Any distraction you get up on stage, you're going to lose their focus. And with college kids, you don't want to lose their focus, because once you lose it, it's gone. Stay out of the screen, we all know this. Have a good attitude. More importantly than being positive on stage is being confident on stage. If you go up there and you stumble, not really sure what you want to say, how do you expect to persuade cadets to go along with the idea if you yourself are not sure of this idea or event yourself? And to do this, you have to practice, practice, practice. You have to ensure a smooth delivery of your presentation. Because if you go up there and falter, you're going to lose the respect, maybe confidence of the cadet corps. They're not going to want to They're not going to want to do whatever event you're doing because they're not going to have confidence in you. So even if you go on stage, it doesn't matter if you have no idea what you're talking about. If you go up there and be confident in what you're saying, you can convince anyone of anything. I guarantee you that. Next slide. PT. PT is never, never, never the form to relay any important communication. However, it is vital. It is essential to use it to reinforce information. Because as college students and working throughout the week, we get all kinds of assignments. We're going to have such a busy load trying to juggle ROTC and college at the same time. Think of your audience. PT is a great way to reinforce the information that you've delivered in email, the nuts and bolts, and after giving a formal presentation at Leadership Lab. Then you hit them up with PT, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, saying, hey, remember my email? This is the basic information. It's going to be a great time. Remember, it's this Friday. Hope to see you there. When using PT, you have to hit every session. Because cadets, even if you go to 2 sessions, some cadets go on Tuesday and Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, whatever it may be. Some cadets don't even go at all. So you have to hit every single session. It's vital. PT goes unwasted so many times. It's such an excellent opportunity to get your voice out there. So start utilizing it. Next slide. So in summary, I talked about the importance of communication, the different methodologies we use, some examples, and ultimate solution. Hopefully you got it all from the brief, but you need to use all 3 means of communication. You can't just rely on Lead Lab. You can't rely just solely on email like so many of us do. You have to hit them at all 3 means. That's the only way your message is going to get across, and it's the only way you're going to properly inform them. Email letting them know, Lead Lab persuading, PT reinforcing. That is the key to success, I guarantee you. That's how Project Atwood succeeded. Even though I failed at Lead Lab, or failed at the PT, the email, I hit them up at Lead Lab, hit them up at PT. You have to hit them on all sides. So this concludes my brief. Is there any questions?
All right, series of movement.